They were once humanity's finest warriors, sworn to protect mankind across the stars. But when catastrophe struck and hope seemed lost, they made a choice that would forever change the Sirius sector. Greetings, commanders and historians, and today we're going to be exploring the Havoc Brothers. We'll uncover how these fallen battle brothers abandoned their sacred oaths to embrace the power of ancient, terrible gods, and the shadow they now cast across the entire sector. Let's dive into their dark origins. When humanity fled their war-torn home and they were plucked from their galaxy via a wormhole, the Founders' fleets were violently scattered throughout the Sirius sector. Many ships were presumed destroyed in this cosmic upheaval, but the truth was far more complex. Numerous vessels had simply been flung to distant corners of this alien sector, isolated and alone. One such detachment of battle brothers found themselves marooned on an extremely hostile planet. As they surveyed their bleak surroundings, despair began to take root. The planet seemed utterly inhospitable. Resources were scarce, and the battle brothers faced the grim reality that without outside intervention, death was inevitable. During their desperate exploration of this barren world, a squad of battle brothers made a fateful discovery: an ancient temple built by a long-extinct civilization. This structure was no ordinary ruin. It had been constructed to worship entities known as the Havoc Gods, powerful beings native to the spaces in between wormholes. It was here that the first betrayal occurred. One battle brother, driven by the overwhelming desire to survive, accepted an offer from these entities. The pact was simple, yet terrible. He would bring others to the temple in exchange for the means to endure on this hostile planet. While his squad mates perished, he returned alone to the main group, bearing strange technology and artifacts that he claimed would ensure their survival. More expeditions were sent to investigate this mysterious temple, but those who returned came back changed. The corruption spread gradually through their ranks as the survivors began to adapt strange behaviors and exhibit unusual abilities. Concerned by these developments, the captain of the detachment resolved to explore the temple personally and discover the truth. While the captain finally emerged from the temple, he was no longer the leader his men had known. Transformed by his encounter with the Havoc Gods, he issued a chilling ultimatum to the remaining survivors: renounce their loyalty to the Founder and embrace the worship of Havoc Gods or face death. Those who remained faithful to the Founder's vision were forcibly taken to the temple, where they either submitted to conversion or were slain. Thus were born the first Havoc Brothers, former battle brothers who had forsaken their original purpose and pledged themselves to new, darker masters. Their transformation represented not just a change in alliance, but the beginning of a new faction that would become one of the most feared forces in the Sirius sector. With the pact sealed and their allegiances pledged to the Havoc Gods, the newly formed Havoc Brothers underwent a remarkable transformation. Their newfound patrons granted them the ability to repair their damaged vessel through methods that merged technology with demonic assistance. What was once a marooned ship became a vessel of conquest, enabling them to leave their desolate world behind and venture into the wider sector. No longer mere survivors, the Havoc Brothers quickly evolved into raiders and conquerors. They targeted vulnerable outposts and settlements throughout the sector, resources and slaves to strengthen their position. Each successful raid bolstered their forces and expanded their influence. This pattern of predation allowed them to establish a foothold in this alien galaxy and begin building their power base. The inevitable encounter with the other battle brothers who had survived the journey to the Sirius sector marked a pivotal moment in the Havoc Brothers' history. These reunions were not joyous. They were marked by immediate and violent conflict. The Havoc Brothers viewed their former brethren with contempt, seeing them as weak for clinging to the ideals of the Founder rather than adapting to the harsh realities of their new home. The Battle Brothers in turn recognized the depth of their former comrades' betrayal and fought to destroy what they saw as corruption of everything they stood for. Despite this animosity, the Havoc Brothers found unexpected opportunities for recruitment. Some individual Battle Brothers, already disillusioned or cast out from their detachment, saw in the Havoc Brothers a path to power and survival. In more significant cases, entire detachments defected, bringing with them valuable military assets and knowledge. Each new conversion swelled their numbers and diversified their capabilities. From these beginnings, the domains of the Havoc Brothers expanded into a complex patchwork across the Sirius sector. Some established planetary fiefdoms, ruling over subjected populations, while others maintained their nomadic, raiding lifestyle, striking from hidden bases before disappearing back into the void. The most powerful created minor empires spanning multiple systems, united under the banner of a particular favored servant of the Havoc gods. Each warband developed its own hierarchy and customs, influenced by the specific Havoc god they followed and the temperament of their leaders. Despite these differences, a common thread remained. The Havoc Brothers themselves formed the ruling elite, presiding over unmodified human followers and demonic allies who served their purpose. Unlike the regimented structures of the Battle Brothers, the Havoc Brothers operate as independent warbands scattered throughout the Sirius sector. This fragmented organization reflects their origins as isolated groups who made separate pacts with Havoc gods. Each warband maintains its autonomy, following its own ambitions and serving its chosen patron in its own way. Leadership among the Havoc Brothers is fundamentally meritocratic, though mercilessly so. These warriors respect strength, cunning, and martial prowess above all else. A leader maintains control only as long as he demonstrates these qualities. Any sign of weakness is swiftly punished, and unsuccessful or ineffective leaders are quickly deposed, often violently. This creates a dynamic hierarchy where power constantly shifts to those more capable of wielding it. The true currency of power for Havoc Brother leaders lies in their ability to forge and maintain pacts with demonic entities. These pact makers, as they are sometimes called, derive their authority with deals they strike with the Havoc gods' envoys. A skilled leader walks a dangerous tightrope, negotiating terms that bring maximum benefit while avoiding commitments that could prove impossible to fulfill. Failing to honor a pact brings terrible consequences. Yet demons are known to uphold their end of bargains to the letter. Within each warband, a distinct social stratification exists. The Havoc Brothers themselves form the ruling elite, augmented warriors who command through force and fear. Beneath them are unmodified human followers, some willing converts, others enslaved populations who serve their masters out of terror. Along these human elements, various demonic entities attach themselves to successful warbands, drawn by the havoc and destruction they sow. The varied origins of the Havoc Brothers contribute to their organizational differences. Some warbands descend directly from the first converted detachments, carrying the legacy of ancient temples where their transformations began. Others formed when isolated Battle Brother groups encountered demons directly, accepting offers of power and survival when faced with certain death in an alien galaxy. Still more came from defectors who abandoned the Protectorate after humanity had established itself in the Sirius sector. Despite their fractured nature, many in the Sirius sector feared the potential threat the Havoc Brothers would pose should they ever unite under a single banner. Thus far, such unity has proven elusive. Each warband remains committed to its own path to glory and power. Their independent nature has been both their greatest limitation and their means of survival, allowing them to persist despite the combined efforts of many factions to eradicate them. The connection between the Havoc Brothers and their supernatural patrons defines their existence. Unlike the Battle Brothers, who follow the vision of a single founder, the Havoc Brothers serve a pantheon of capricious entities known as the Havoc Gods. This relationship takes different forms across various warbands, ranging from zealous devotion to calculated partnership. Among the most committed are those known as disciples. These Havoc Brothers have built deep spiritual bonds with a specific Havoc god, gradually transforming both physically and philosophically to reflect their patron's nature. Their appearance, combat doctrine, and even thought patterns evolve to embody their god's aspects. For these true believers, the pact is more than a transaction. It is a sacred covenant. They pledge eternal loyalty to their patron, genuinely embracing the god's goals and philosophy as their own. The temple-born Havoc Brothers, the first to turn from the founder's path, often fall into this category, carrying forward the religious fervor that began their transformation. In contrast, many warbands maintain a more pragmatic relationship with the Havoc gods. These Havoc Brothers approach their patron as powerful allies rather than objects of worship. They fulfill specific requests or missions for their chosen god and receive power, technology, or resources in return. This transactional approach allows them to have greater flexibility, and some warbands shift their allegiances between different gods as circumstances change. The most ambitious and daring may even attempt to maintain multiple pacts simultaneously, though this dangerous game requires exceptional skill to avoid conflicting obligations. The process of pact making itself is central to Havoc Brother culture. A typical agreement might involve a Havoc Lord promising to spread war to a specific planet or recover a particular artifact in exchange for supernatural powers, ships, or wealth. Successful leaders in this society, those who can negotiate the most favorable terms while avoiding commitment that might prove impossible to fulfill. This requires a delicate balance of cunning and ambition, as the consequences for failing to honor a pact are invariably severe. Despite their notoriously fickle nature, demons are known to uphold their end of these bargains to the letter, though rarely the spirit. The fine print in these agreements has led many an overconfident Havoc Lord to ruin. One might be granted the promise and invulnerability to enemy weapons, only to be crushed by falling debris during battle. Another might receive the foretold visions of the future, only to be driven mad by glimpses of their own inevitable demise. As Havoc Brothers' relationship with their patrons deepen, physical transformation often follows. Mutation, demonic gifts, and supernatural abilities manifest as signs of favor. These changes further distinguish them from their Battle Brother origins, creating warriors whose bodies reflect their allegiance to forces beyond human understanding. The Havoc Brothers' visual identity and technological foundation reflects their transitional nature. Warriors caught between their Battle Brother origins and their new alliance to the Havoc gods. Their appearance and equipment tell the story of their evolution from the founder's elite soldiers to corrupted servants of Havoc. At their core, Havoc Brothers use technology derived from the older generation of Battle Brothers. Their armor, weapons, and vessels originated from the founder's fleet itself. These systems represent the military technology of humanity prior to the rival in the Sirius sector, formidable by any standard, but lacking the continued refinement and development seen in contemporary Battle Brothers. Over time, this technological foundation has undergone significant divergence. Unlike the Battle Brothers, who maintain standardized equipment through centralized manufacturing and logistics, the Havoc Brothers have been forced to adapt and modify their gear based on available resources. This necessity has led to considerable variations between warbands, with each developing its own distinct aesthetic and technological modifications. The influence of the Havoc gods has dramatically accelerated this divergence. Demonic enhancements merged with conventional technology, creating hybrid systems that defy standard engineering principles. Weapons might be infused with supernatural energies, armor plates inscribed with eldritch symbols that provide protection beyond their material properties, and vehicles modified to accommodate the change in physiology of their operators. Acquisition from other sources further contribute to their diverse appearance. Havoc Brothers frequently incorporate technology captured from alien species, Battle Brothers forces, or other factions throughout the Sirius sector. What might begin as scavenging out of necessity often became a deliberate practice, with warbands integrating the most effective elements from various technological traditions into their arsenal. The physical appearance of the individual Havoc Brother reflects the same pattern of a divergence and corruption. While they begin as genetically enhanced humans like their Battle Brothers, exposure to the Havoc gods has triggered mutation that manifests differently based on which god a warrior serves. Some developed hardened carapaces or additional limbs, others emit strange energies or experience sensory enhancements beyond human capabilities. These physical transformations serve as visual markers of a warrior's favor with their patron and the duration of their service. The visual contrast between different Havoc Brother warbands can be striking. Some maintain a disciplined, uniform appearance despite their corrupted nature. Rows of warriors in matching, if modified armor, marching in lockstep precision. Others embrace a more individualistic approach, with warriors adorning equipment with trophies, symbols, and personal modification that reflect their unique path. The most devoted disciples often transform their appearance to explicitly honor their patron god, adopting colors, symbols, and modification that align with their deity's aspects. This technology and visual diversity stands in stark contrast to the regimented uniformity of the Battle Brothers, where the Battle Brothers represent the founder's vision of careful, controlled enhancement of humanity. The Havoc Brothers embody a chaotic, accelerated evolution driven by pacts with entities beyond human understanding. Their appearances serve as both a reminder of their origin and a testament to how far they have strayed from the founder's path. The presence of the Havoc Brothers has left an indelible mark on the Sirius sector, influencing both the political landscape and the collective psyche of its inhabitants. Their scattered domains represent a persistent threat that shapes how other factions operate and defend their territories. Throughout the Sirius sector, the Havoc Brothers have established a fragmented network of influence. Their holdings take various forms, from isolated planets ruled with an iron fist to hidden bases serving as launching points for raids, from systems spanning minor empires to revolving fleets that prey on shipping lanes. This patchwork presence ensures that few regions of the sector can consider themselves entirely secure from their reach. The most profound impact of the Havoc Brothers lies in the fear they inspire. Many worlds throughout the Sirius sector include warnings about the Havoc gods and their cultural folklore and cautionary tales. Remote colonies maintain consistent vigilance against their raids, while even major factions allocate significant resources to monitoring potential Havoc Brother activity near their borders. This persistent dread has fostered a degree of militarization across the sector that might otherwise be unnecessary. The specter of potential unification haunts strategic planners across the Sirius sector. Military analysts and political leaders across various factions regularly assess the likelihood of the Havoc Brothers setting aside their differences to unite under a single banner. Such an event would represent a catastrophic threat to the stability of the entire sector. This fear has prompted several preemptive campaigns against particularly successful Havoc Lords before their domains could grow too powerful or influential. The Havoc Brothers have also earned a reputation as formidable and effective warriors. This recognition has created an unusual dynamic where, despite their feared status, some factions have been known to secretly employ Havoc Brother warbands as mercenaries for particularly desperate operations. Such arrangements are inevitably kept hidden, as association with the Havoc Brothers would bring immediate condemnation from other powers in the sector. Their influence extends to the cultural and religious spheres as well. The worship of the Havoc gods, once contained primarily within the Havoc Brothers' domain, has spread to some fringe populations throughout the sector. Underground cults dedicated to these entities can be found in the shadows of many worlds, often actively recruiting the disaffected and the desperate, with promises of power similar to those that seduced the very first Havoc Brothers. The relationship between the Havoc Brothers and the native demons of the Sirius sector has altered how many factions approach wormhole travel and psychic phenomenon. Increased demonic activity often accompanies Havoc Brother raids, leading to heightened security around unstable wormholes and careful monitoring of psychic individuals who might be vulnerable to corruption. Entire branches of military and intelligence organizations have developed specifically to counteract these threats. Despite their fragmentation, the collective impact of the Havoc Brothers on the Sirius sector has been profound. They represent an unpredictable, adaptive threat that cannot be easily contained or eliminated. Every successful raid strengthens their position. Every world corrupted expands their influence. and every battle brother who defects to their ranks deepens the wound in humanity's presence in this new galaxy. They stand as a dark reflection of what humanity might become should it abandon its principles in the name of survival at any cost. And that is how, commanders and historians, the Havoc Brothers continue to haunt the nightmares of every faction in the Sirius sector, a fragmented yet ever-present threat that could one day unite and plunge the galaxy into darkness. What do you think would happen if these scattered warbands ever found common cause? What aspect of the Havoc Brothers fascinates you the most? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown of GrimDark Future lore, hit the like button and subscribe for more exploration of this rich universe. And remember that the universe never runs out of stories. There is always one page more.